evening, Toastmasters.
Good evening.
And fellow guests, welcome to Unity Speakers. Very, very happy to see you all. How's everybody doing tonight?
Excellent.
Fantastic. This is great. We have a fabulous meeting planned for you. I'm going to try not to be a buffoon, as our word of the day would infer. But if we could start by reading our vision statement at the top of our sheet here, as you can see right at the top. Vision statement: supporting success by building confidence, we change lives. All right. Awesome. I have to tell you, I'm very excited because we have, once again, a first-time Toastmaster tonight. This is awesome, right? And we love to clap, so don't worry. We're going to applaud for you more than you have ever experienced before. We're just going to throw it at you. It's going to be great. We also have an icebreaker tonight, guys.
All right.
So, very, very exciting. So we know how this goes. We are going to be supercharged, super excited for folks who are taking risks. We love that, right? No one's a buffoon in this room. All right, everyone. So I'd like to start with our introduction of our fabulous guest in the room. This is the second time, I believe. Fry, welcome to Unity Speakers. Good to see you. What brings you to Unity?
Well, this is second time for me. So I was traveling 1 month ago. I came here. I am member of another club.
Oh.
And Barry pushed me to join the second. He encouraged me, so I came here once, and I find this really interesting club. So I am with my paperwork, and I am signing.
All right.
Welcome back.
That's $5,000 bonus. This is network marketing.
Yeah. Well, welcome to Unity, and thank you so much for being here. This is great. Officers, how's it going? Love to hear from you. What's going on? Mo, I know you had a couple things cooking, so why don't we start with you?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you very much.
Click.
There you go. I was testing you. You're doing fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, a couple of weeks ago, or a little bit less than a week ago, there was a birthday from one of our most precious, one of our MVPs of Unity, Mr. Tom Odstadt. Who turned 21 all over again. Third time. And Miss Peggy Peasley. Peggy Peasley is also turning 21 tomorrow.
She's 19.
So please sing along with me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tommy. Happy birthday to you. That concludes my report for the evening.
Everybody was
Thank
singing
you, Mr. VPP.
heroes and need more.
All right. Madam Secretary, any reports or updates for us?
The only thing that I have currently working on are some lovely posters for our walls for the positions. I've gotten the poster boards and I'm going to start working on those for us, and that will just be a great visual for all of our guests to know what our positions are with the club and what it is that we're doing. Great.
All right.
Beautiful. Madam VPE, updates from you.
I have a few things to tell you.
Yeah.
So we have two wonderful opportunities for Pathways training. You all should have gotten an email about this Saturday. There's a training in Tempe from 9:30 to 10:30. You can do that either there or you can do it remotely in the privacy of your own home. Or if you'd like to join us, Steve and I and Hobie will be at the Starbucks at Beardsley and 67th Avenue. So if you're new to Pathways, that was a good so. That was a transition so. Sorry. Sorry. This will be a great time. Then this will be a great time to have other people there to help you navigate through if you need to sign up. If you've been with the traditional program and you haven't really looked at Pathways, this is a great opportunity to get an introduction to it. So please consider.
Another so.
Please consider coming to that in one way or another. There will also be training here next week on the 6th, Linda Christian will be coming and doing a presentation for about 25 minutes, talking about pathways, helping us to navigate. And so great opportunities for us to keep going with pathways. So the other thing I want to talk to you about, yes, it's another so. Thank you.
It's freaking out over here.
Contest. We have our contest coming up January 24th.
Can we start the meeting over? Lana just got
Lana's here! Hey, Lana!
Oh, no.
The contest is a combination of international speech contest and evaluators contest. So if you would like to be a contestant for either of those, please sign up. This is a sign-up sheet that's going to go around along with our regular agenda sign-up sheet. There are also plenty of other roles that need to be filled. There will be timers, ballot counters, judges, and plenty of other things. I will be contest chair. Steve will be contest manager. That'll help him to fill out one of his leadership roles.
For my CL.
Yes,
Hey.
CL. And Mary has volunteered to do the food, but I'm sure she could use some help. We're gonna need help with marketing, flyers, all kinds of other things. So please, just, if you don't like any of the roles that you see, sign up in others. Right there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Mr. Treasurer, any updates for us tonight?
Only about the account. I don't know if you want to have me bring that up or not.
I think it's closed business, but I appreciate that. If you have any new updates, but we're still working on it, right?
I'm still working on it.
Yeah,
Trying
fantastic.
to find money, huh?
Now, Don has been working tirelessly on a situation that will not end with our bank account with Wells Fargo, but it's in good hands, and we appreciate him very much. Thank you so much, Don. Sir, any updates from you, John?
No, life's good.
Doing good? Life's good? All right, very good. Well, thank you very much. Last thing I want to just add very quickly, we had our club area report. We met last night with Charlene, our area leader, and it was fantastic. So we went through a lot of pros and some opportunities, but we were told that Unity is an anchor club. Unity is one of the strongest clubs in the district. So you belong to a club that's doing really, really well. We kept trying to find things to improve, and she was like, well, we'll just put it down just so we can say something. And I was like, oh okay, we'll type it in. So give yourselves a round of applause, because you're all making this work. The officers are going to review the report. It will go out December 6th for all of you, and if you have any questions, please let Evelyn or I know. And Evelyn, thanks again for your time last night. Very good. Well, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce someone getting our toast tip, a very important little something. I'm just going to glance over here. Miss Melissa Redmond's got a toast tip for us. Welcome,
My toast up for this evening is know your audience. While this is not always possible, preparing ahead of time can help you have a successful presentation. Researching things such as age, gender, economic status, political orientation, and group dynamics will help you better understand your audience and prevent you from saying the wrong thing. Finding common ground with the audience will help you align your message with their interests and keep their attention. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Melissa. All right, we have a great meeting planned for you. Madam Toastmaster, I do have one update about my speech I'd like to share if you don't mind.
No.
I had been planning on doing Moments of Truth tonight, which some of you may have heard from the successful club series. I brought 2 backup plans, and both backup plans are failing me this evening as far as my technology goes. So with that in mind, rather than try to scribble through visual aids, I do want to give you a great presentation. I am ready to give it. However, I am going to use my pocket speech, which is backup plan number 3. So please note, we will not be doing Moments of Truth, but I will have that for you very soon. Okay, very cool. Without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Kelly Jenkins. First time
Yay!
Yay! Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests, which is not going to be a guest anymore. Who here likes when something changes? I do. Our theme this evening is change is the only thing constant. This is a quote by a pre-Socratic Greek philosopher, Heraclitus. Always planning and being ready for change in every aspect of our lives is never a bad thing. Life without change would be stagnant. Everything would stay the same. We wouldn't have any internet, we wouldn't have cars, we wouldn't have medical advances, so we'd all die at a very young age. Many people do not like change while others embrace it. And why is that? I often wonder myself, because I do like change. I believe it is because people fear it. And what we fear, we don't want to deviate from that. Change can be traumatizing if we try to resist it. It seems the world is moving really fast, but in fact it has taken many years to get to where we are today. Some want change to happen overnight, but it will not. Time will pass by no matter what, and what else are you going to do with that time? Therefore, treating change like a marathon and not a sprint will help alleviate some fear and allow more acceptance of the change occurring. Accepting change has brought me hope during challenges or unexpected life events. What helps me adapt to change is I believe I do not tie myself to, What helps me adapt to change is I believe I do not tie my whole being to things around me. So with that, I believe I introduce our general evaluator for the evening, John Silva.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight it is my distinct honor and pleasure to serve as your general evaluator for this evening. We have several great speeches planned to include an icebreaker and also from Mr. Steve, as we just heard. So my job, My job is to monitor the meeting, provide feedback, and work with our evaluation team. In order to assist me in that process, I have a fantastic team of functionaries who's going to tell us a little bit about their job and what they do. The first person I'd like to introduce is our timer, Mr. Ravi. Would you mind telling us about your responsibility?
Yes, great. Thank you, Zandu. Hello, Toastmaster guests. Today I'm going to be your timer, which means I'll be timing each and everything that is going to happen here, especially table topics. Prepared speeches, speech evaluator, and table topics. And for our speech today, I would like to confirm how much time do they need. Raymond Lee is your icebreaker. You need 5 to 7 minutes. Is that correct?
4 to 6.
4 to 6. Okay. And Steve, do you need 20 to 25 minutes?
No, I need 5 to 7 minutes this evening.
5 to 7 minutes. Okay. Okay. As you can see, I have this light box here. We have 3 stops: green, yellow, and then red. Green means you have reached your minimum time, and red means you have reached your maximum time, and you have to conclude your speech as soon as possible. And for our evaluators, there will be 3 stops: 2 minutes at green, 2.5 and yellow, 3 minutes at red. And for our table topics, 1 minute. At 1 minute, I'll show them the green light, 1.5 minute yellow light, and at 2 minutes, I'll show them the red light. And that's
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our next functionary this evening is not a buffoon by any means, and it's our good friend, Miss Caitlin Ewens, in the back.
I will be your grammarian this evening, so I will be looking for exceptional uses of the English language, areas we can improve. And our word of the day is buffoon. Thanks to Jake for helping me with the O I forgot. But a buffoon is a ridiculous but amusing person, a clown. For example, they pictured their manager as a buffoon, and I spelled buffoon wrong in the sentence too. So anyway, please use the word of the day in your table topics and throughout the meeting, and I will give a report at the end of the meeting.
Our next functionary has already been hard at work, and she is our awe counter, and that is Miss Nancy.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much. I will be your official awe counter tonight, and my role will be to to aid you in any overused words or filler sounds such as but, so, and to aid you in speaking appropriately. Thank you.
All right.
So you, and last but not least, our ballot counter this evening will be Miss Christy Monroe. I know I saw you on there, and I apologize. We swapped it.
Okay, good.
Please.
Thanks, guys. So we're going to be using the little slips of paper in front of you. You'll be tearing these off after the speeches to vote for the best speech that you like, and then also for the evaluators at the end of the evaluations. And then for table topics, you'll also pick your best table topic for the individuals who are using the word of the day. Thank you.
I need a second, please. These guys have done a very good job.
Backup bot counter.
Yes.
Next, I would like to introduce our evaluators for our prepared speeches this evening. For our first speech, we have a icebreaker by Ray, and I think it's really special that I believe his mentor, Mr. Dan McGinnis, is going to be evaluating his speech. Dan, would you tell us a little bit about it?
A couple weeks ago, we were going to play racquetball together, and he come in jumping up and down. Oh, I've got accepted at the university. I'm going to be able to go become a physician's assistant. If he displays that kind of energy as he did there tonight, he will beat you, Mr. President.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, tying nicely into that segue, we have our last speech, which is Steve for this evening. And I know it's a last minute thing. Howard, what do you know about Steve's speech that you're going to be evaluating, sir?
Well, I know absolutely nothing about this.
Element of surprise.
So it's going to be an impromptu evaluation. It's the general evaluation. We'll look for the general themes that we look for in many of our speeches. And feedback at the end of the evaluation period.
Yes, sir. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I look forward to a great meeting, and I'll now turn it back over to our lovely Toastmaster, Kelly.
We have some awesome speeches tonight, and I'd like to introduce Raymond Lee. He's giving a icebreaker speech. The title of it is Two Names for Two Different Worlds. Raymond Lee immigrated from China with his father 13 years ago. In his speech, he will talk about the origin stories of both his Chinese name and his English name. Please welcome Raymond Lee.
Madam Toastmaster, today I'll talk about the story of how I got my name, or names to be more specific, one in Chinese and the other one in English. And by the end of this speech, I hope you know a little bit more about how I got those names and how names work in Chinese, as well as sometimes in English. Now in Chinese, a big difference between how Chinese names work and how English name works is that in Chinese, there is a meaning behind each character. So if you really want to put somebody into a thought bubble, ask them what is the meaning of the name R and the character R. They wouldn't be able to tell you anything because R doesn't mean anything. But in Chinese, every single character out there has a special meaning. And if you thought Twitter was short, you can actually learn Chinese and write essays in the same space in Twitter. So every single name has its own meaning in Chinese that kind of tells a story or describes a character of the child. In Chinese, the surname is known as Xing, and the given name is known as Ming. And the order of the pronunciation of the name is also different as well. In English, you pronounce my name as Raymond Lee, but in Chinese, perhaps Lee Raymond will be more appropriate because the family name will always come first. So one headache that I've been dealing with my original Chinese name is people will, no matter how hard they try, always pronounce it wrong because they will always start at the other end. So my Chinese name is Li Wenjun, but the way that it is spoken here is always Wenjun Li. And in order to fix that, I decided to go with my other name, Raymond. Well, first of all, what does my name exactly mean, Wenjun? Well, Wen describes academics, somebody that reads a lot of books. And Jun describes somebody that's very handsome. all together. Somebody that reads books and is kind of handsome, which is sounds like my parents made a pretty good choices back then. So how exactly did we go from handsome man into Raymond? Well, for that, we need to dial it all the way back, some 15, 16 years ago, into a very, very special place, a kindergarten class all the way back in China. And who's this special character that gave me this name that I will have for the rest of my life in English? As it turns out, it was a random English teacher in China. And this was the process. As the legend goes, I was in kindergarten class. My first English teacher asked, does everybody here have an English name? Everybody raised their hands, and I was the only one left out. Like, Li Wenjun, you need an English name. And what should we name you? She put her finger on her chin, thought deeply for about 5 seconds. Suddenly, a light bulb popped up. How about Raymond? At that point, it was a moment of weakness because I didn't know any other names. I mean, had I known names like Dan, Don, John, or Steve, I might have questioned her decision. Hey, you're going to make a major decision on my life, and perhaps I can get a little say in it. Unfortunately, I didn't know other names. So I thought having any English name, Raymond, sounded fine. But in fact, she could have said Christy or Mary. I mean, I would have been none the wiser. But I accepted it. And today, people know me as Raymond Lee. So what have you learned today? We've learned the thoughtful process behind naming people in Chinese, and perhaps a less thoughtful one about naming people in English. So the next time you get the opportunity to name somebody, you have an opportunity to really change their lives or fundamentally mess them up. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters.
Great job, Ray. That was amazing. Now I'd like to welcome, our next speaker is going to be Steve Spivey.
One point of information, Madam Toastmaster.
Oh, 1 minute on the clock?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One minute time up.
Okay. We have another speaker this evening. He's our president. He's amazing and funny. His name is Steve Spivey, and he will be talking to you tonight. Let's welcome Steve Spivey.
That's why Steve Spivey.
Steve Spicy. I am spicy. That's right. Fellow Toastmasters, thank you so much for your patience with me. It's interesting, we're in a relationship, you and I. Relationships take a lot of patience. They take a few things, and I want to talk to you a little bit tonight about relationships and what they take to be successful. How many of you are in a committed relationship with somebody? Right?
Are you kidding?
There's a lot of us. I saw a lot of hands there, but there's some of us that aren't, and that's okay. I'll tell you something, and I'll tell you something that you know. Relationships that are long-term, that are really valuable, take a lot of work, right? Anybody feel like relationships take a lot of work? Yeah? Anybody with the person that feel like the person you're with right now takes a lot of work? Hey, that's all right. So let me ask you something. Those of you that, we have a couple couples in the room, which is perfect. I'm just curious. Tell me, what does it take to have a healthy, lasting relationship?
Listen to your partner.
Listen to your partner, right?
Always.
Trust. Awesome. I agree with that. Other things? Patience. I have 4 things that I want to share with you, and all of those are among mine. The first one is listening. And I'll tell you something, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them proportionally, right? I have to remind myself that, and sometimes I'm also reminded of that by my partner, who likes to tell me, you know, I hear a lot of this, you just need to callete your boca, sweetie, okay? Okay? We were going through a lot, I'm not going to call it a rough patch, but just a lot between us. There was a lot of unsaid things. A lot of things that were scary to say. A lot of things that I was afraid of because, quite frankly, I was worried that my feelings were either abnormal or that saying what I felt would make me inadequate, or worse yet, saying what I felt would dismantle a relationship that I just wanted to make better. Okay? Relationships take a lot of patience, but not only with each other. It takes a lot of patience with ourselves, right? How many of you have lost your patience with your partner? I think anybody who is in a long-term relationship, maybe keeping your patience doesn't always necessarily mean on the outside, but that's a big part of it. It was Thanksgiving. I was getting everything together. Gary told me that the kitchen was his domain. I don't listen to Gary very much. So I walked right into the kitchen and I said, listen, I'm here to do the potatoes. And he was like, I could just feel it. And I saw the look. You know, I knew. We didn't get into a fight on Thanksgiving. We weren't going to sink to that level. However, we needed to talk. I needed to listen to him because he wasn't ready to start a fight with me about the fact that the kitchen was his domain. He was unhappy about a number of things, and so was I. I don't think I need to bring you through each and every one of those things. But suffice it to say, I wasn't listening to my partner. And he wasn't always listening to me, and we thought we were. It's very important. The second thing I think that is so important that we've touched on is patience. Patience because I need to be prepared for what he might say to me that I don't like, and I need to be prepared to take a deep breath and be patient with myself and process what he has just told me. And that's pretty scary too. Because what if he asked me to change? I really like myself, but I am not infallible. There are opportunities for me to be a better husband and a better person. Right? I think we also have to be a good forgiver. How many of you have forgiven someone under duress? You forgive them even though you don't want to, and you have to take a deep breath. And so, anybody know? Mo, I'm looking at you because I know you've you've given that speech, baby. Okay. Okay. You're like, not right now. Being a good forgiver is important, not only because we need to dismantle the conflict, but when we've been a buffoon, we need to forgive ourselves as well. That's right, I'm looking at you, Madam Grammarian. Thank you very much. Right. And the last but not least component to this is self-reflection. If I'm ever going to be better, if I'm ever going to be stronger, if I'm ever going to be more worthy of this amazing man that I love who, for whatever reason, God knows why he loves me back, I need to be prepared to take some of the things that he teaches me, and I need to change. And that's not easy. Speaking of our theme, which I thought was just a perfect dovetail, how many of you like to change? Yeah? Okay? I know. I feel the same way that you do, Don, because to me, I love change. I love the idea of change, but when applying it to myself, it's very scary because I'm really comfortable with some of the things I do, right? I don't necessarily want to go a different way to work unless Waze tells me to, and then I have to like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to get to Starbucks? Y'all remember how I'm late for everything? This is why I'm late for everything. I don't like to change and try new routes. Truth be told, relationships are hard work, and I never understood what that meant. When everybody told me when we were engaged, relationships are work. Well, what does it take to have a healthy relationship? Well, it takes trust. And you're absolutely right, it does take trust. That's fine. Well, what else does it take? Well, it takes a sense of humor. Well, I've got that. What else does it take? You've got to listen to each other. The hardest part for me has been putting all of those together and bringing it to a level where I have to raise my standards for myself, and I have to be willing to change first before I ask him to. This year, I am grateful both for my partner and also for my ability to do all of the above. Madam Toastmaster.
For evaluations, please.
We got it.
Hmm? You didn't get the ballot count out? Times for the speeches and.
No. You after 1 minute, you ask for the time for the report, and then to vote.
It's time.
Okay, timer, may we have your report, please?
Yes, sure. Raymond spoke for 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Steve spoke for 6 minutes and 30 seconds. So both of them has reached their minimum. So
Okay, if you guys can vote for best speaker. Christy will come around and collect your votes. And while she does that, I'd like to introduce John Silva back as general evaluator.
All right, John.
All right, thank you, Madam Toastmaster. We're now going to enter the evaluation portion of the evening after two wonderful speeches that we just heard and learned a lot from. Our first evaluator evaluating Raymond's icebreaker is Mr. Dan McGinnis.
I have two parts to my evaluation this evening. One is tell Raymond what he did well, what he could do to improve upon. But he already knows that. I could tell by his reactions when he came back to sit down. This means I'm nervous. Please don't do that if I'm going to be your mentor in front of the rest of these people in this room, okay? Then they think I'm not accomplishing my job.
Only your mentor can do that.
You know what you did right, and you know what you could improve upon. And I recognize that. The key thing is you're a lot like me, you don't practice. More practice would have made it better. You had some excellent humor, you had some excellent enthusiasm. That was awesome. That's why you will win in the election tonight. Because your enthusiasm and your humor. Now for the rest of the Toastmasters. I've mentored several people in the 12 years I've been in Toastmasters. And I believe Raymond is my favorite because we've built a close relationship. I took him on the racquetball court. He had no idea how to play. The first game he hit the ball up against the ceiling a few times. And it was amazing how over a period of 3 or 4 times of playing racquetball, he is equivalent to me almost now.
You play Chinese racquetball.
And what's interesting if you think about this, you will eventually find someone to mentor. And when you do that, step up and ask them if you can mentor them. Mentoring, for a mentor and a protege, that's one of the best things there is in Toastmasters. And if you don't know that, talk to me after the meeting. That is something of great value, far, far more valuable than to stand up here and speak for 7 minutes. Because having that is what builds something powerful to where when you do get up here and speak, eventually you learn to just have 3 or 4 bullet points. You look at the word buffoon, and you know what to talk about for the next 45 seconds. Whatever the next word is, you know what to talk about. But the key thing is, if you're not mentoring someone now, if you've been at Toastmasters a year or more, shame on you. You now know from me speaking to you that if you've been at Toastmasters over a year, you should be mentoring someone. Because that's one of the most powerful things there is in Toastmasters, although it's seldom talked about. I've had the pleasure of spending a couple hours with Raymond before he went on to an interview, which I knew nothing about before in my life. To become a physician's assistant, he has to interview with 3 people asking him questions. I taught him, quit looking at the ceiling, look at the person that asked the question, and if you're not looking at them, be sure to look at the other person or the other person in the eye all the time till you finish answering the question. Become a mentor, Mr. Toastmaster.
Oh, I need a mentor.
You've been summoned, Tom, by Barry, so. Thank you, Dan, appreciate that. Our next evaluation is on Steve Spivey's speech, and we're gonna have Howard Fay come on up for his evaluation.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Steve. It's sort of interesting doing an evaluation on a non-manual speech because you really don't have objectives. And one thing that to maybe mention on this is if you're going to do a speech from your back pocket that you try to match it up with something from Pathways. There's bound to be something you could use to get some credit for your speech because you're giving wonderful speeches up here. What I really liked about your speech was you, right off the bat, brought us in. You said something that we all could relate to, about relationships, which most of us could relate to. And you also got us to participate interactively. You asked questions. We got some feedback from some of the people. It's very interesting and a good way to do a speech, especially an impromptu one like you're doing. You gave us some examples. I like that. And you did start out. You gave us what I'm going to tell you, and you proceeded to tell us, and you presented examples. And at the end, you gave us some conclusions. What I liked also about your speech was you gave us some lessons with those examples. You gave us something to think about in our own relationships. As far as how we saw you, you look great up here. You're good, well poised. You're smiling. You have enthusiasm. You used your hands a lot. One thing, though, I noticed, you stood here most of the time. Occasionally, you got to about the center, and you never worked that side of the room at all. You want to consider trying to work the whole room in your next speeches. The other thing I found was sitting in the back, it was a little bit, it wasn't hard to hear you. You may want to boost your volume just a little. I'm not sure how the people in the back row felt about it, but you project, but maybe just a little stronger next time. What I liked was at the end, you told us about being better listeners. You mentioned forgiver, patience, and self-reflection. I think that was good examples for all of us. And I'm looking forward to some future speeches of yours, but next time, get out the Pathways manuals and let's match it up. Great speech, and as always, look forward to your next ones. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Howard. Mr. Timer, may I please have your timer's report for our fantastic evaluators?
Dan McGuinness spoke for 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Howard spoke for 2 minutes and 38 seconds. Both of them are qualified for both.
Ladies and gentlemen, they both qualified. And as you can see, Ms. Christie is going around with the ballot bag, excuse me, to collect your vote. Sorry. You know who it was. I just did this. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gonna get after it tonight because it's like 7:13.
Yes, table topics for everyone.
And it's time for your favorite time of the evening, our table topics. And our good friend, table topic master, will be Mr. Don Radliff.
Thank you, Mr. GE, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. I love table topics. You love table topics? Yes. Excellent. Hopefully we'll be able to get through a good portion of you tonight. Tonight's theme was change is the only thing constant. And there are many different kinds of change. Did you know that? We can change ourselves. We can try to change someone else. Not very likely we're going to be successful at that. We have the change in our pockets. You can keep the change. You can change a tire. There was actually a winning speech, World Championship Public Speaking, a couple years ago about changed by a tire. If you haven't seen it, go check it. You can change your mind, you can change a diaper, you can change your hairstyle. So tonight we're going to be having some questions about change. And I'm going to go ahead and call on some victims, and if you wish, you can change the question. You know, you have that option. So you can change the question, you can reframe it, you can take somebody else's question. Renal, would you come on up, please? Good to see you. So the question I have for you, Renal, is, as was alluded to, sometimes people don't like change. If you would tell us about a time in your life that there was a change that you did like, and if you would use the word of the day, buffoon.
Thank you. The change I like in my life, I changed my country. I born in India, brought up there, I studied there, my culture was totally from India, and I came here. It was a sudden change. Because as I mentioned in my icebreaker, I said I got married very quickly. So it was a sudden change coming here back to US. So many things changed. But believe me, it was a very nice change. From last 10 years, I'm in US in same city, same country. I'm enjoying that change. I met different people and I like the friendship. I like the way they treat me with the full respect. I never felt that I'm from different country. The trust and the respect, I get it in my own country. Yes, I get it here. And that's what the change, I like it. I never felt buffoon. That's the change I like in my life. And I'm happy. Thank you.
Great job. Jake, you seem to be kind of comfortable back there. Pick on that rope for a bit. Come on up. Change can sometimes be something that we want, sometimes change is not something they want. If you would, tell us about a time in your life where you had to face change that you didn't like. If you would use the word of the day, buffoon.
I'm quickly feeling like a buffoon. A time. It's a difficult subject because I don't change that much. I've worked at the same company for 28 years, been married for 26 years, but I am in a business where things can change pretty quickly. I manage money and it's changing all day. You know, sometimes it's a good day for utilities, sometimes it's a good day for pharmaceutical stocks. It changes all the time. Interest rates are rising, interest rates are falling, political events all around the world. And it's important to embrace the change, but at the same time be able to step back and realize that some things don't change, or it's good when they don't. And so some companies are always raising dividends. They're good long term. If you get caught up in the day-to-day change, that can be a bad thing. But if you can focus on, you know, this country produces great companies that enrich their shareholders, and be able to step back and focus on the long term, it'll be fine.
Christy, you're looking kind of comfortable there. You're going to do great. If you could go back in your life and change one thing about your life, or change an event that happened in your life, what event or thing would you change? And if you would, use the word of the day.
And remember, I'm in the room.
On that note, I was thinking about everything with you. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know that I would change anything. John and I have been married for 21 years. 20 years of that, he was in the Army. We moved every 2.5 years. We moved from Fort Knox, Kentucky to Germany. We lived in Detroit. We lived in, goodness, where else? Kansas, here, Texas. And I loved all of those places, but one. And I hated that one. Remember when John came home, we were living in Germany. We had just had our youngest in Germany. Middle of a blizzard, we had snow. We had a snowman that had been built that was taller than this building. That's how much snow we had. And John comes home and he was like, what would you think about moving to Texas? I didn't like Texas. I didn't want to go to Texas. Never wanted to go to Texas. Didn't tell him that because he had his heart set on moving to Texas. He wanted to go because his childhood best friend lived in Texas. And so I kept my mouth closed and I said, what? It was awful. So we get there and I hated it. It was hot. It was flat. It was brown. There was nothing that was green. It was the dirtiest, nastiest place I'd ever been.
Detroit.
And I told John at one point, I'm like, you were a complete buffoon for moving us here. So my biggest regret in that was not being upfront with John and telling him, no, I'm not moving to Texas. We sold the house. We moved to Arizona where it is very hot, but not flat, not brown and dusty. And we are very, very happy now.
I've got to call you out, Christy, if you don't mind. Did you see when she came up here, she seemed a little bit nervous, like almost like you weren't going to do a great job. Didn't she do a great job? Yeah. Great job. What a storyteller. I love it. Thank you. Sometimes I have experience, and I suspect you probably have too, where somebody comes up with maybe a lack of confidence and they don't think they're going to do a great job. Raymond, you know, when you came up, I didn't think you thought you were going to do a great job, and you did do a great job. So just notice, we got to let go of that belief. You know, the only reason that, and I told this to Raymond before he spoke, I said, the only reason that we're not already amazing speakers is because we have the belief that we're not. Gotta let go of that belief, and that's what we can do here in Toastmasters. Now it's time to change it up a little bit. Who's gonna be our next person up here? Howard, you might be old enough to remember this. Come on up. Now, to our fellow Toastmasters that are a little bit younger than Howard and I, this is going to sound really strange. You're not going to believe it, but it'll be true. There was a time when television sets didn't have remote control. And if you wanted to change the channel, you had to get up and do it. Yes. Howard, did you have one of those TV sets?
We certainly did.
Were there more than one children? There were more children than yourself in that family?
Yes.
Tell us about whose job it was to change the channel.
Well, when I was a kid, we had probably was about a 24-inch square Admiral television with a rotary dial. And the most important part of this television was that you couldn't see any pictures on this thing if you just turned the dial. It didn't work. You had to push the dial down and shove cardboard in there. That caused, it's actually like a switch with capacitors, and it caused just enough change that allowed the picture to come through properly. And of course, the television was black and white back then. I think it was my sister and myself, we pretty much agreed on the same shows, I think. Although in reality is we didn't watch that much TV, because back then, you could play outside and ride bicycles and go places, and there wasn't the mall to go to. You went to the playground and played with your friends. But yes, we did watch some TV. It was great stuff like I Dream of Jeannie, Green Acres, all that's great. But you had to make sure you shoved that knob down and jam that cardboard in to make that TV work. So, gentlemen.
Back when my brother and I were young, way before they had remote control, on Saturday mornings we'd want to watch cartoons. We shared a bedroom, and we were so lazy, and I think it was Steve Jobs says, give me a lazy person, he'll be more creative. We were so lazy that we created a little device where we taped a piece of string to the on-off button, and so we would be able to turn it on in the morning without getting out of bed. All right, Peggy P, come on up. Oh! I didn't see your hand down. Sorry. One of my favorite quotes, and I suspect it probably is yours too. Be the change you want to see in the world. What change would you like to see in the world? And if you would, use the word of the day.
The change I would like to see in the world is people caring for each other and in their community. Instead of focusing on just yourself and what's yours and what you own, it's reaching out, it's lending a hand. One of the things that we do is we carry around boxes, and when we see a homeless person, we open our window, hand a box, and say, we care about you. It's not my business why they're homeless. We share, we care. Today, I had a fantastic opportunity with the company I work for to volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club. And we were tasked with building a reading nook for the children. 3 weeks prior, we collected book donations. We brought them there today. We built bookshelves, and we built seating area for the children, and it was wonderful. The change that I want to see in the world is for each and every one of us, not just at this time of year or a specific time of year, but throughout our entire life and our entire being, to give from your heart to others, without question and without looking for anything in return. Mr. Toastmaster.
Mr. Moe. probably had an opportunity for this next kind of change. Changing a diaper. In your family, how is that division of labor worked out? You change diapers? Does she change diapers? How does one decide in your household? If you would, use the word of the day.
I'll answer two questions. The first one is, I do change diapers. I, however, have Melvin try to do some of the dirty ones. It was at his request that we ended up having another baby after 12 years. After he puts us on the spot, oh, I'm so bored and I never get to play with anybody. Well, here you go, 12 years later. Congratulations. There's a diaper, put him to bed, get his bag ready, get your brother out of the car. But I'd like to go back to the previous question, which is, what change do you want to
be the change you want
be
to
the
see?
change you want to see? So Melvin just recently, I got a phone call from Yvonne real quick. And she said, you need to talk to Melvin. I think he had an experience with being bullied at school. I said, okay, no big. We're going to get there. So Melvin, what's going on? Oh, well, you know, we were in the locker room and some kids grabbed my shoes and they were just throwing them around. I said, so what happened? She says, well, they just gave it back to me. I said, well, what did you do? She says, well, after a while, they just gave it to me, Dad. Okay? And the question was brought up, how do you stand up for yourself, or what does it mean? Do I fight back? Or what goes on, right? And I said, I have the perfect story I want to tell you, son. There was a bully when I was in 11th grade, and this guy would wait for me at the bus stop, getting to school. Like, I'd see him, and he'd just be waiting for me, right? And I'm like, dang. At first, it was curse words. Second, it was shoulder checks. After that, the guy just wouldn't leave me alone. I thought by avoiding him, he would just leave me alone. So I would go a different direction if I see him coming. I saw those shoulder checks coming. I was like, whoa, okay, cool. We'll move on. No problem. But after a while, this kid just, I'm sorry, but he pissed me off. So I get out of the bus, and I'm walking, and he's talking behind me, So finally, I put the backpack down, and I turn around, and I'm getting ready to face this guy, okay? And I'm walking towards him, and here we go, hands up, and you guys seen Spider-Man, you know that scene with where he goes like this, right? So this kid just swings at me, and I couldn't believe what happened. Like, I dodged back, kind of like the Matrix. And I couldn't believe, I was like, this kid just left himself wide open, so here I go. And right when I'm about to hit him, I stop. I don't hit him. And I don't know what came over me that day. I picked up the bag. Okay, this is a true story. I picked up the bag and walked away. And I know I'm over my time, but what I wanted, the change for Melvin, is to show him that standing up for yourself doesn't mean you have to get violent. It doesn't mean you have to put your hands on somebody else. It just, you have to show them where they're wrong, okay? This kid was talking smack to me as I'm walking back, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm cool. He didn't bug me after that. I said, it doesn't mean you have to fight back, but standing up for yourself probably just means you have to show them a different way.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Mo. Back when I was in grade school, I had a bully that picked on me quite a bit. And there was one time I finally had enough. I picked him up and I threw him in a garbage can. I did. The adrenaline was there, and I threw him in a garbage can. Many, many years later at a high school reunion, I'm sitting next to him. And I asked him, his name was Leonard. I said, Leonard, did you remember the time I threw you in the garbage can? He goes, no. I said, it's okay, I do. All right. Nancy, come on up. Well, there's another kind of change that I think women are more likely to change than us guys, is our hairstyles, our hair colors. Since you have been married to Jake, which has changed more, your hairstyle or your hair color? Use the word of the day, buffoon.
He's the best.
So this is pretty fun topic for me today because I was asked by my sister to volunteer, Peggy, at she's got a daughter that's in kindergarten, and they were desperate for volunteers. So she sent out this plea to our entire family, I need volunteers, who can help me out? And I figured, okay, I'm an empty nester, I will volunteer. So I volunteer, and I'm in charge of Lookout Mountain Lions. I had to do the headdress. I had to help all the kids make little chief headbands. And so I'm there, and I'm doing my good deed, but lo and behold, guess what? I was the winner of a new $250 hair salon, so hence my new hair. So this is my new little short hair. So yes, women, we do vacillate over color and gray and style, but really it's about embracing it. So the other night after I won this, it wasn't $250. They say it was $250, but I go to this new place and I was like daring, and I'm like, okay, do something different, do something fun. And so I went short and sassy. I cut quite a bit of hair. And so I called my husband up and I said, guess what? I look short and sassy. You need to take me on a date this week. So I think it's about embracing all of the times in your life, whether you want to go red or black or dark or gray, just have fun with it and just own it. And that's what I've done with my new short hair, and I'm feeling really sassy.
How much time do we have left? Mr. Clymer, how much time do we have left? What time is it?
7:40.
I just want to point out, I'm short and sassy.
7:40. We still have
Time for one more? Two
Yeah,
more?
we can still go on.
And that's because it was free.
Mr. Hovey, come on up. You have experienced some change in your life. Correct?
Yeah.
You used to live somewhere else?
Yeah.
Another country?
Yeah.
Tell us about one of the biggest challenges to the change that you experienced from Vietnam to moving here. And if you would, use the word of the day, buffoon.
Okay. The change that I experienced did not make me, or did not require me to be a buffoon, but it required me to be seriously and to be open-minded. So we start applying to come to United States in '85, but we actually left Vietnam in '89. I was lucky that my uncle was here back in '68 and was able to sponsor me, my parents, and my grandmother to here. And so that takes the progress a little bit quicker than usual. But the change that I experienced was, in a sense, I know it was a change because back home I was able to learn English when I was in first grade, but my parents did not teach me French. And so it's a good thing that we not go to France, but we actually go to America. And the experience that I got was when I started here, I was able to continue with my 10th grade in high school, and it, in my opinion, was smooth. And I was able to continue with the high school and then college and then grad school and now work. And so the change that I experienced was continuously smooth and not abruptly like when my parents was having a change. So I feel very blessed about that, and I'm happy that, and I hopefully continue to look forward to any change that occurred in my life.
Christy.
All right.
Another kind of change, probably if you would like. Another kind of change that is stereotypical for women is changing your mind. Are you the stereotypical woman that changes your mind a lot or not? If you, however the case is, let us know why or why not, and if you would use the word of the day.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I would actually like to take on the question about the change that I would like to see in the world. Recently, I've had a lot of, how did I say that? I've had a lot of drama in my life, you know, and the reason for that drama is I feel that the people in my family that I am associating with at the moment are not taking accountability for their lives. And so when they're coming to me for help, my first response to them is, what are you going to do about it? And when they don't have an answer, or when they don't take the time to think about that for themselves, and when they're coming to me and asking me for the information about what they need to do with their lives, it's upsetting because I can't make those changes for those people. I can't make those decisions. And as many times as they'll come to me for help, I won't be able to help them because they need to help themselves. And so I really feel strongly that people need to take responsibility for themselves and look inside and find out what your purpose is, because there's nobody on this planet that is going to give you that information. It's very difficult to watch people make the wrong choices over and over again and hope that they'll finally see inside and know they have the power and the strength to change. The only way that we can change is to make that choice independently. And I just feel strongly that the biggest thing that we can do to change the world is to look inside and change ourselves. Thank you.
How are we doing on time? You okay?
38. I think we can have some more. I think.
A couple more?
Yeah.
All right, Tom Ostad, come on up. Are you familiar with the World Championship of Public Speaking speech about changed by attire?
No, thank you.
Yes, you are. Yep. So for those of you who haven't seen it yet, and I encourage you to see it, it was a speech about a gentleman who had a flat tire, and he had an event, and the event changed him. If you would, Tom, tell us about an event in your life that changed you for the better. If you would, use the word of the day.
Thank you very much. That was Presley and Vasilia, by the way. He's going to be the keynote speaker, right, at the district contest, I think.
From Chicago. Romanian guy from Chicago.
He's a Romanian guy from Chicago, correct. Thank you very much. Well, I'm not really sure how to answer that because change is something that we all deal with. It's something that is constant throughout of our lives, and I just love what Christy had talked about people taking responsibility. I think there's two things about change that are very important. Number one, if you've ever been to the doctor and they said, oh my gosh, you're reacting to this medicine, and that's a bad thing, right? But if you went to the doctor and they said, well, you're responding well to this medicine, it's two different things, and really they seem like they're the same, but they're not. I think change is the same thing. I think that when you have a mindset where instead of reacting to change, which is always going to happen in your life, and you learn how to respond to change, then you have a better chance to deal with change and make some better important decisions in your life. In Toastmasters, it's absolutely the truth. This is something that we learn to respond to this, and that's what I'm talking about. When if you don't take responsibility, so the problem we have in our lives is that people do things to us, and maybe they don't do it intentionally, but things happen to us, and then we blame them, and then we don't forgive them, and then all of a sudden we carry this stuff around with us like a bag that we can't put down, and they're out having these wonderful lives, and they don't care that we're carrying this around with us. And it's not that we have to take responsibility for something that's not our fault. It's that if you don't take responsibility for everything that happens in your life, you're going to depend on someone or something outside of yourself to change in order for you to get better. And the chances of that happening are very, very small. I think that if we learn how to respond rather than react, we have a better chance at handling the change that's inevitable in all of our lives. Thank
One more last one. And our final victim is Lana B.
You won the last time.
Okay, well, there is always that option. Let's see. Evelyn, come on up. You joined Toastmasters how long ago?
6, 7 months.
If you would, Evelyn, tell us how Toastmasters and the confidence that you have gained so far has changed your life personally and or professionally. And if you would, use the word of the day.
I'm going to change the question. I'm going to go to the change that I did not like. So I have to use computers all the time, like everybody else. And I don't like that to change. Other things can change around me, but I don't want my computers to change. So when they changed from Windows 8 to Windows 10, thank you. And I resisted, and I resisted. I was working at one clinic where they kept getting new computers, and the new computers, of course, have Windows 10 loaded on them. And the first time I had to use it, I felt like a buffoon because I got into a screen and I could not get out. I could not figure out how to switch the screen. And fortunately, the IT guy was there, and I had to ask him, how do I get up the screen? I think it was escape, or it was hidden off in a corner. It was like, there weren't any symbols or anything to click on. You had to bring the mouse out past the edge of the screen before it would show up. That was the only way to get out. So I resisted for a very long time with my own computer. My son kept saying, switch to Windows 10, it's much better, security's better, you gotta go with this. My computer finally died, and I had no choice. And I now have Windows 10, and I'm okay with it now.
Fellow Toastmasters, sadly, we have run out of time. If there was one thing I could change, I would have been able to call on each and every one of you, and yet that's not possible tonight. Wasn't it amazing tonight? I don't know about you, but I sensed an amazing rise in the level of our speeches tonight, our table topics. The quality, each topic, each person just did an amazing job. And it's so good to be back and to be able to experience that with you. I missed you while I was
Glad
gone.
to have you back.
If you would, let's go ahead and give us a timing on the table topic speakers.
Yes.
Everyone make time.
Yes, everybody made a time, but Mo, he passed our time, so only Mo is not qualified, but everybody else is qualified. Murnal, Jay, Christy, Howard, Peggy, Nancy, Hovey, Christy, Tom, and Evelyn.
Okay, very good, thank you. And Grammarian, did everyone use the word of the day?
We didn't have that great of a word of the day use today. Bernal, Jake, Christy, Silva, Hovey, and Evelyn were the only people I heard it from.
Okay, so if you would, go ahead and vote for the person amongst the list that Caitlin just read that did use the Grammarian's word of the day, and pass that to Miss Christy as she comes by. Fellow Toastmasters, it's been my honor to be your table topics meister, and I turn it back over to our general Toastmaster? General evaluator, I believe it is. Okay.
That was awesome. We already had our timers report. Mr. Timer, did I forget anything? Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, everything's
Everything's
covered.
good?
Yep, thank you.
All right. Next functionary report that we are going to get. We heard a little bit from the grammarian, but Madam Grammarian, do you have any other points of order for your grammarian report, please?
Yes, I do. I liked when Kelly said treat change like a marathon, not a sprint. And Raymond, I really liked the Twitter reference, but I think you lost us at the end of it when I think you should have said, if you thought tweets were short, you can actually write a Chinese essay in that many characters. But you said something similar. John and Steve both used the word of the day and weren't table topic speakers. Raymond, I like when you said dial it way back. And your word choice was fantastic with the sarcasm that you used. None the wiser and fundamentally messed them up. I think that was you as well. I didn't write who that was. I liked call on some victims when Christy said the dirtiest, nastiest place. And that's it.
And just to add to our grammarian's report, I just want to say, Hovey, you say a lot of great things, but tonight you said one of the greatest things I've ever heard you say. It's a good thing we didn't go to France and we came to America.
Yes.
You make me proud to be an American. Ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, we're going to hear from our counter this evening with her counter report, please.
Hello, everyone. So I think I started off kind of intense, and I must have been very effective because really and truly, you guys are amazing tonight. Mo, there was one in your intro. Pardon me. That was constructive criticism there. Secretary, we had one Evelyn had one so. Kelly had a delay and then an awkward pause, grasping for words. Ravi, you did great. Everyone, okay. Howard, there was one and then a delay, pause. Really and truly, every single person after that, I was really listening, and everyone was wonderful. So, I think great job tonight, everyone.
All right. And great teamwork from Jake as well, filling in.
I think I was the biggest culprit.
No. Leave our ballot counter. Are you
Yes.
good to go? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, next we'll have our ballot counter come on up and announce the winner.
Ladies and gentlemen, as a newer member, it is always exciting to see the icebreakers. It's a really exciting time as your first speech. Raymond, congratulations on your best speech this evening.
Ready? 1, 2. All right.
Thank you. Good job. All right, 50-50 chance of getting an evaluator ribbon here, so we're going to give it up for Howard.
Ready? 1, 2. One more. 1, 2. All right.
Thank you. All right, table topics. We had a lot of good speakers. I love table topics. That's like my favorite part of this night. So exciting when you get voluntold to come up here and speak. So we're gonna give it up tonight for Christy Silva. Congratulations.
All right, ladies. 1, 2. One more. 1, 2. Awesome. Thank you.
Good job. And I'm not sure if this applies. Are we giving a guest for the new member, or shall we just accept him as our new member? What do you think? He's a member.
Marty first.
Oh.
He should have got a ribbon the first time.
He still has his red ribbon.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. We appreciate
If I could just take a moment just to give a little bit of feedback on the meeting tonight. I think it was a fantastic meeting. One thing I've really noticed from the beginning to the end is just how crisp and how precise just everyone was from top to bottom going through. And I think we should also recognize Kelly for stepping up as well and being a first-time Toastmaster this year. And just really wanted to reiterate 2 wonderful speeches tonight. Ray, it was so great to hear your icebreaker, and I think I speak for everyone when I say that we can't wait to hear more from you.
Yes.
Hear some good speeches from you as well. And every time Steve speaks, I don't know about you, but I get a few degrees smarter. So it was just great hearing your advice on relationships tonight. It was a very, very good speech, and I know that it was probably something that you weren't able to prepare for fully because you planned something else. So that was spectacular. So great meeting tonight, everyone. And at this time, it's my pleasure to return the meeting to our wonderful Toastmaster, Kelly Jenkins.
Very happy with tonight's meeting. Thank you very much. We learned a lot about change. And it is the only thing constant. Believe in whatever happens in your life, there is a reason, whether it be good or bad. You will travel pathways with curves and intersections. Be the change that you want to see in this world. I personally welcome change. Changes are a normal part of our lives. How we embrace the change is what will impact how we are able to live with the change. Accepting change allows an opportunity for continuous renewal and growth. Thank you very much, and turn it over to Steve Smith.
Thank you. Can we have another round of applause for our first time Toastmaster? How many of you got up here as a first-time Toastmaster and felt like you were giving your icebreaker speech again? Anybody relate to that? Yeah, I do too, for sure. GE is the same way, folks, I'll tell you what. And thank you so much for being so supportive of someone who is new. It's really important that we acknowledge how hard these roles are. We're doing these roles because they make us stronger, and they make us better presenters. They make us better at work and at home. And thank you for bringing your A game. Thank you very much. Nice job. Very good. All right, fellow Toastmasters, before we do some announcements, I want to hear from you, Fry. How was the meeting? I mean, I know we've made an impression on you, but tell me, what did you think?
Yes, so again, I'm very impressed how these meetings are conducted. I was Toastmaster for about 2 years, 3 years ago. So I took a long break and I joined that my original Toastmaster 2 weeks ago, and I'm joining here again. So looking at this, it looks like I'm starting over, because the level of energy and the professionalism I see here, I didn't see in my other club. So I'm open to learn so many new things, and I see a lot of coaches and mentors are here, so that I'm trying to capitalize on that.
Excellent.
Nice.
Let's be a buffoon.
Very good. A couple things. We do have a sign-up sheet floating around the room. I just want to acknowledge we do have Toastmasters, I believe, signed up for the next couple of weeks. Is that right? Marianne Ruffin is next week, and then Tom, thank you for signing up the week after that. Feeling good. All right, where's that sign-up sheet, by the way? Fabulous. All right.
Over here.
Very good. Has it gotten over here yet? Hey, send it on over. Let's go ahead and give everyone an opportunity. Very good, everybody.
That's it.
What's that? Do you have something?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How many of you have problems with logging into the new format on the, doesn't matter which club you belong to, because everybody's using the same format? I have a problem on my phone, logging in, and also that stupid pathways, so you gotta click on off, and then, can we change, can we call somebody, the headquarters?
There will be a meeting
Huh?
Saturday on Pathways.
No, the problem is, it used to remember my password. Now it's accept the cookies and all this other garbage.
So it
Am
sounds
I
like
the only one?
it sounds like that would be something we can definitely offline. I'd love to help and see if I can support you there. If anyone else is having a challenge with logging in, I'd love to be a resource. We can do that after the meeting. Howard, go for it.
Toastmasters.org, not our website, right?
Just to confirm, Barry, are you referring to Toastmasters as opposed to Free Toast on our website?
Toastmasters.org, yes.
Actual Toastmasters. So
But
I have
it's a free, their system.
I have a couple of ideas, but we can offline on that. That's great. Thank you so much. All right, one last thing I want to share, and I just want to give a quick thanks. Tom has offered to host our holiday party, and dates are TBD.
Kate offered to host
Oh, okay. Well, it sounds like Kate might be at Tom's house helping to host our holiday party. So thanks very much. That's great. That's your dynamic power team. Very good, guys. Thank you so much. Great meeting. Anyone have anything else to add before we adjourn? All right. Yes, sir.
Who might give this thing?
Absolutely. Hobie is going to take that for you. We're going to come and see it. That's beautiful. All right, everybody, make it a great week. Pathways next week. Don't forget to bring your laptop or electronic device. We'll get this done. Meeting adjourned.
All right.